Hi everyone. It's Tuesday afternoon. Well, here in Europe at least, it's 5 p.m. and that is the time for our Wize Move Society live conversation. And it is going to be a little bit different than what we've been doing over the past 6 months. Can you imagine? It's already 6 months that we're doing all these live conversations. It's time really flies, but it has been a lot of fun. For those who don't know me, my name is Ingun, the founder and CEO of Moving to the Future and the Wize Move Society. And I'm here with, already for 6 months, my co-host Tatiana Rowson, and she will introduce herself in a couple of minutes. And Deborah from Victoria, Vancouver Island, joined us, one of our teachers, influencers, and very much focused on healthy aging. Yes, it is time to reflect. You know, we don't have a special guest today, but we said it is, you know, after so many months and so many sessions of this live conversation, we do need time to reflect and, you know, think about what will move us forward into the new year. So really looking forward to that. Just short, why did we start this Wize Move Society, that online platform for that 50+ generation? Well, of course, there's a lot to do about this generation, and what we see a couple of things happening, and that is that's the short story. It is we live longer, so it's longevity. We are healthier, better educated, more active than ever. So that's good. That's the good news. There's also the fact that this group really needs to stay longer in the workplace, needs to earn longer than our parents. You know, my dad even, you know, he retired at 58. You know, can you imagine? That for me is already a couple of years ago. But you know, the current generation is, most of them are not able to retire that young just because they don't have the retirement funds that are sufficient to live longer. You know, my generation, I'm 62. We tend to live into our 90s. So, you know, imagine I'm 62, that's at least another 30 years. So I need a retirement fund to be able to pay for those years. So that is important. But of course, there is so much to do for this generation. And we are a huge group. And that is also important. You know, if you look at, you know, how many there are of this generation, and you compare it with the younger ones who just come into the workspace, you know, we're so many more that if we do retire at 65, 66, 67, doesn't really matter, we cannot be replaced by that younger generation. So there's a lot of reasons why this generation, at least, should stay in the workforce and even, you know, dive into, so what can I do? What is the next step for me? If I am in my 50s and maybe lost my job, especially right now in Corona, there's so much happening. Maybe lost your job or lost your business. And then you really need to reinvent yourself. You know, what is going on in the world, but also what do I want? And that's very important. We heard that buzzword a lot. What is my purpose? Well, this is very important. If you want to have fun in what you're doing, if you want to be challenged, you want to feel fulfilled, you want to create an impact, then at least what you want is do the things that you really like. And that is also important, also for this age group. So the last couple of almost 6 months, we have been doing these live conversations. So next to what is happening online on the Wize Move platform, there's this live conversation, what we are doing live here on Facebook, on Zoom, so you can join us. But also, we do these conversations because we feel it's important to create awareness outside the platform. So we talk about a lot of different subjects, a lot of topics, to create more awareness on the challenges, but also the opportunities for this age group. Yes, so today it's time to reflect. And Tatiana, I'm going to give the floor to you because, well, first of all, of course, introduce yourself, and also why is this so important to take this time?
Thank you, Ingun. So I'm Tatiana Rowson. I'm a psychologist. I'm an academic and researcher. I research pretty much life in midlife and what happens next. I'm interested in an aging process, the good, the bad, the pretty and the ugly, but embracing that stage of life the best way we can. And it's an interesting area for research when you think about this time of the year, this time of reflection, and when we look how we change our relationship with our own story, with our own biography, as we move along into the different life stages. I always say that the first half of life, we tend to be really busy doing things and trying to fit a mold that someone else might have set for us. Sometimes we think that's what we want. Sometimes we're right. Other times we're just following the crowd, because it's natural that the first part of adulthood, we're finding our feet, we're finding exactly our likes and dislikes. We haven't been exposed to enough experiences to have that full knowledge of ourselves until we hit midlife. So up to that point, we are experimenting with the things that are presented to us. And the way that our lives are structured, we are usually presented with a particular flow of things that tends to be quite standard, or we tend to fit in with this idea that at this age, these are the things I should be pursuing because these are the right things to do in my culture, in my society, in my peer group, and so on. And when we get to a later stage of life, the importance of reflection becomes a bit more evident. And I think that dives us into this topic we're talking about today, is this process of looking back and reviewing the learnings, reviewing what's going on. So looking inside and looking at the things that happened and starting to map what are the lessons learned. So what exactly happened here? And by doing this process, we discover who we are. We can tap on a bit more of self-awareness and learning a bit of how we react to situations, the things that are good for us, the things that we don't like, and we sometimes in the moment didn't realize was not good for us. And that allows us to then plan for what comes next. I will change the word. I will say prepare, because we live in a world that's very unpredictable. So there's just so much we can plan, but preparing is quite a different thing. If we are prepared, if we are resourced, if we are strong, if we are mentally ready, we can face the challenges, even if we're not prepared for them. But if we are not prepared, the best plan is not a good plan, because we just don't have those resources. So this is a very important process. As we get older, reflection can change its tone as well, become a bit of a celebration. You can look back and feel that sense of happiness for things that happened before. You reminisce, you go back in the moment and you enjoy that experience again just by thinking about it, because it was a good experience in the past. But because we're talking about midlife and 50s, I think there's quite a long way until that kind of reflection is most of our reflection. I think we still have a lot to do and to achieve. So the looking back to move forward is an important process. And without looking back, we cannot move forward as well as we could. So it's as an important thing. So one of the things that in my conversation with Ingun, I said is important for us to do, December is mid of December. Maybe if you are on the Southern Hemisphere, it's sunny and lovely and summer. For me, it's miserable and dark and cold. And I can see Deborah nodding there as well. So it is winter. So it becomes even more special to think about what happened throughout the year before we embark on the next year. And our conversations is a very good place to start because we had amazing conversations throughout the year. When I look back and I think all the things I learned, all the things I've been exposed, it's really surprising the amount of knowledge we shared on these sessions and how useful those sessions can be for all of us if we look back and start to map what are the nuggets of wisdom that we can apply to the year coming. I'm going to start mentioning one, and then I'm going to invite Deborah to join us in the conversation. I'm going to start mentioning the session with you, Deborah, the session on the yoga. That for me was a very special session because that awareness that we do have a body that sometimes we neglect, we forget, or we give in to the comforts of life. Every time I maneuver my car now, I think about, Deborah, you're talking about moving the spine, how we don't need to do this anymore because the comforts are there, and how much we lose from not using our bodies. So that for me was a very important message that I took from our conversation. I'm going to let you comment on that, Deborah.
Thank you. There's some lovely little nuggets that you two have mentioned. And yes, and sometimes you hear a statement over and over again, and you just hear the statement and you take it for granted, and that's it. And last week, Mike made the statement, and it was a question, is how long do you feel you have to live into the future? And I've thought about that, and I've thought, I'm going to be healthy, and I'm going to be, fine, and I'm going to sail into the sunset. And all of a sudden, it just woke me up. I don't exactly know how long I'm going to live, but I'm hoping I'm going to live into my 90s. And it's like, oh my goodness, what am I doing to my body and to my mind, my whole being, that I just take for granted? And I am very dedicated on doing my yoga and doing the breathing and doing my meditation and eating as best as I can. But, I'm feeling some little nooks and crannies starting to call on me. And I feel I've got at least, because I'm 74. I will be 74. It's not just push the age. I'm so proud that I've been able to take care of myself all these years, that I'm proud to say who I am, because I have done the work and I haven't become a couch potato. Excuse me. I haven't become a couch potato. I've taken the responsibility, and this is really what it's partly about, is responsibility. Responsibility for myself, no matter what. And I know there are mornings I get up and I go, can I not just stay in bed and just stay in this cozy little place? And I have to count down, and I can't remember who it was, but I thought it was a really good way of doing it. It's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you just get up on those mornings again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up, push the covers away, get up, and I do my evolutions, and then I do some yoga, I do some breathing, even if it's in bed and moving my body and just getting the joints moving. And it's like I'm oiling the joints and getting my breath going and moving my hips. Like, you don't have to go very far. You don't have to go down the road. You can just go and sit and be where you are and do exercises to wake up the body, whether you're even at the computer. And then I do my breathing, because that's really important to energize the body, bring that chi, that prana, that I learned a new word just because it's the same in Moana, in Hawaiian word, which is the prana, into our physiology. And if anybody has words that represent prana, that subtle intelligence that is so subtle that we don't see it. It's just in everything. If there are words in your ethnicity or your culture that represents that, would you text us and let me know? I would love to know other words that represent that. And so this is going to prepare us to stave off whatever is going to come our way. And, you know, things are going to come, maybe not. And it's, I just cannot stress the importance of taking that responsibility to move, to breathe, and to find that silence, to spend some time turning inward so that you get to know yourself from another level. And it's not like you're turning inward to analyze everything that's going on. It's just turning inward to be, to feel the marvelousness, if there's such a word, of how it feels to settle down and find that silence. Because the silence is your doorway to the profoundness of yourself. There's such an exposition when you go and you go inward. It's like you're going on this exposition of just being, and what that being and what that silence is when you take the opportunity, even if it's for a minute, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. It's so important. And Tatiana, I really like what you said, looking back to move forward, is that I agree. In fact, the other day I did that. I took the different ages from 1 to 5, 5 to 10, 15, and I wrote down, what was I doing? What was kind of my who was I at that particular time? How was I expressing myself? And it was amazing, the themes that I was coming up with, that because I too am looking at where I'm going in the future and how I'm doing it, so that I can go forward with a sense of, this is so perfect. It's using all my talents. It's what I desire to do. And one has to look back at, what makes my heart sing? What makes me happy? What are my talents? So that I can use them now and gather them all together and bring myself out into the world in a package that is not only going to make my heart sing, but I'm going to help other people's heart sing. And so that's kind of like two areas that are really not mutually exclusive. They're really important to look at together, is how we really respect our body. And I know we've had it for a long time. We can tend to take it for granted, but we can't do that. We just cannot do that. Yeah.
Deborah, I love the exercise you just mentioned of looking at different life stages. There's some very popular exercise that it's done in therapy or in coaching or even personal development that's based on life chapters, which is about looking back. If we are to split our lives into chapters, such as a book, how would we summarize each chapter? And more importantly, what's the title of each chapter? And by doing this exercise, it's really interesting how exactly we can find a thread that connects those different chapters. And those threads are really at the heart of why we do what we do. So that touches in a topic I know is very close to Ingun's heart, which is passion and purpose. So this idea that if we don't live with purpose, we don't make the most of our experiences. But that purpose, it's quietly there in our history, in our life stories, in our biographies. It's just sometimes we're a bit busy to look for it and to find it. we are occupied with our children, with our work, with the demands of whatever restrictions of COVID you have in your location now that you might need to worry about. So all these different day-to-day activities can get on the way or can cover the fact that we have something going on underneath, that if we can pick up and bring it to surface, then allow us to plan and have a more interesting and fulfilling life. And there's nothing wrong with fulfillment and interesting life. That's what it's all about. We should all want this. We should all pursue it in a true way, not in a sort of a standard way that someone dictated that should be the nice thing to have. No, in our own authentic way of pursuing a fulfilling life.
Yeah.
Well,
I would like to respond to that, Tatiana. I was talking to someone a couple of weeks ago, and she's a lawyer, and she is around her 40s right now. And she said, well, you know, I believe that everyone who becomes a lawyer does that from their heart. You know, they want to help people. You know, somewhere there's this thing, if I do law, then I can help people. But then most of them end up at these huge firms. And what is it all about? It's about billable hours. It's about bottom line. It is about, you know, getting as many clients as you want. And that is also something that for me, I experience in the IT industry. You know, I think this generation that is wise, you know, the wise generation, that they are, you know, they went to school, they went to college, to university, thinking that, you know, if you just learned whatever you wanted to learn, it was good, it was practical, so that you could get that job and live for so many hours, so for so many years doing that job. And then there is these moments, or because I always called it my moment, you know, when I was in my 40s, beginning 40s, I call it waking up at your work, you know, that you feel there's this moment behind your desk and that you think, what am I doing here? You know, there is no purpose. There is no passion. There was only, you know, we have to do this because that brings in the money, and I have my mortgage and I have my car I have to pay for, the education of the kids. You know, so you have to do this. And then when this generation loses their job, their business, they go from, you have to do this, to, so what do you want to do? What is your purpose? Purpose, that's a strange word. You know, I think until 10, 15 years ago, I never heard, well, of course, I've heard about the word purpose, but not in relation with what I was doing as a job. So there was such a wake-up call that purpose and passion is so important. And especially if you do get older, and I do, well, it's, for me, it was 42, you know, that I said, okay, I really need to quit this job because this is not going to make me happy. But I do think that the older you get and the wiser you get, you are looking for that passion and that purpose, because that is what makes you happy. And that is what life is all about. You know, it is not about success translated in money and power. Success, and especially when you get older, is translated in good health, you know, well-being, in joy, in happiness, and all these things that are more connected to passion and purpose. And that is why it's so important. But that is also why this healthy aging, you know, that good health is also so important. You know, we cannot move forward. And, you know, I'm guilty. I plead guilty, absolutely, that, you know, I was working and working and working. And even now I really have to live conscious to say, okay, go outside. You know, you feel like you have to do this whole long list of everything that is there. But in the meantime, you're not doing the things that you need to be doing. You know, I had my hernia a couple of years ago. So when I sit too long, my back hurts. So, you know, when my back hurts, I have to stand up, or I have to go outside and walk the dog or things like that. By now, almost every day, do the 10,000 steps. I restarted my yoga, but very carefully, you know, because my back is this thing, but my back cannot be an excuse, but that I cannot do it. And I absolutely remember, Tatiana, what you said about this car. We have this video camera in my car, so I don't have to look behind me. But now I do. I do. When I park my car, I'm again using my mirrors and looking back so that at least this whole body stays flexible. But it is so important. So yes, it was a very wise lesson.
Oh, that is so that makes me feel like I have used my purpose. So my purpose is to inspire others to love whatever their body is at this particular point, whether it has some pains and some boo-boos or feel marvelous and strong, but to move through that and to enjoy our body, where it is, and what we should be doing, can be doing, to get to that place of acceptance. And that's hard. That's a journey in itself. It's about self-acceptance. I just want to say something about the purpose. And I think you'll agree that when we come into this world, we already have our purpose, because we already have our gifts. We already have that. It's just our journey of revealing that. And there are certain phases of our life that's going to reveal a little bit more than and some people have got the gift or the luck that they just know when they go for it, and that's just it. And then they sail through. And it's like, my sister was one of those. I was going, oh my gosh, it's like she was just so lucky to have that. And it's taken me decades to really honor my gifts. And so some of us need to dust away that, like an onion, take off another layer and reveal what the beauty of each individual is, because it doesn't matter who you are. You have that beauty, you have those layers to be revealed, and the body is a doorway to that. Is a doorway to that. And yeah,
thank you. Those conversations are so important. I'm going to move on to another point that this year was really, really meaningful for me and really stuck with me, was all the stories of reinvention that we heard in our conversations, of stopping and starting again, whether because I like the story of Marino Colombo when he talked about his cooking and his passion for cooking, and when that opportunity was presented to him, why not? He just took it. Or the story we had 2 weeks ago, that something happens to our lives, we lose our jobs, and then we are forced to reinvent. That's a different route to that reinvention. Or the conversations we had with Elizabeth or the Passed On group, where you can start late on something completely new, and there's no barrier to success in what you do. So all these different reinvention stories that we have throughout the year.
Amazing. I love them. Yeah, absolutely. You know, it is, well, Marina, I have seen that pretty close happening, you know, that was really, most of us thought, well, you know, what is he going to do? This guy is crazy. He has a wonderful job, and now he's, you know, cooking. And, you know, that is what the outside world is seeing when you do change in that way. But also, Paola, 2 weeks ago, yes, absolutely, you know, your job after 35 years, and you know, the bank goes bankrupt. Her husband as well, they were both involved. You lose your pension, you lose your income. And that story about her, and that is also, you know, that mental health aspect is you know, you go in a deep depression. You know, you just stay in bed, you feel terrible about everything that is happening. And, you know, even up to the point that she says also you feel hungry, you know, and that is, there is this moment that you realize, you know, this is not helping me, I have to. And then there are so many beautiful things coming into your life that when you, well, push yourself a little bit, that this needs to be done. Yeah, absolutely. I love these stories. Yeah. And I see that Mabene is also online. She's from Botswana. She actually did that as well. You know, she was in the healthcare industry and changed again. Can you see us? Can you hear us? Mabene, can you say something? Can you show yourself?
Good day, good evening.
Hi, good.
Hi, how are you?
We're fine.
Sorry, I joined. I'm not at home. I'm in one of these meetings. Yes.
You made a major change yourself, you know, when, you know, we are reflecting on our lives and on what has happened over the past 6 months here in the Wize Move Society. But you as well, you know, you went from Botswana to Australia, was in the nursing industry, but then you came back and, you know, you started doing something completely different.
Yes, that's true. I came back and just started into life coaching. And with my job of life coaching, I got involved in a lot of community work. And that got me into a political position as a nominated councillor. So, which was something that I've never been involved in politics, and I didn't really know the ropes of politics. But this is my second year. I've learned a lot, and I'm enjoying it because I'm bringing something different that is not in politics, because I'm a professional and I'm a community worker. So most of the time, my purpose is aligned with the community work, which even the politicians have now started to embrace me to see, like, you are bringing something different and we can look at the politics in a different aspect. Like, for example, just today, you know, as politicians, people will say anything about you on Facebook or anything about the party on Facebook. Somebody started posting about, you know, the negative issues about at the clinic. There were no nurses and blah. Instead of going into the Facebook and replying them, I talk to them individually. I say, I don't think this is how we should approach this. If there is a problem at the clinic, you probably should be approaching, have you talked to the matron? Have you talked to the doctor? Do you know exactly what is happening? And they apologized. And in the meantime, I called the matron and I called the district health team director to find out exactly what is happening. And for my surprise, they both didn't know what was happening in the district, because they're not in NATA. One of the nurses who was in the clinic just decided to go for a workshop without reporting to others. So I'm bringing that perspective in the political arena, that we should not just be going around shouting at each other. We should look at the cause and try and solve it. So I've just been talking to my member of parliament, updating him, because somebody tagged us both on this post on Facebook. And I told them, this is not the way you approach things. But he said to me, this is political games. They're playing dirty games. They'll get people to just play tricks. I said, no, they're not going to play tricks with me, because I'm going to go straight to them. So yeah, I've learned a lot, and I'm really enjoying it. Thank you.
Did you ever think you would do this if you look at your life 10 years ago?
No. No.
No.
Even when I came back home and I started getting involved in the community, people approached me. They say, oh, maybe you should, because when I came, they were just starting the nominations for the elections for this term. So a few people from different parties approached me that, you know, the way you handle yourself, the way you do things with the community, you will represent us better in the parliament or in the council. And then I said to them, look, I've just come in. I don't even know what politics in this country are. let me learn and see where exactly I'm going. In my thinking, I was saying, if I'm going to go into politics, it will be in the next 5 years, not now. Yeah.
You mentioned one of the right words, and I know that Tatiana will also probably talk about that learning thing, you know, lifelong learning.
Yes. Yes,
True.
that's one thing that I'm learning. I'm continuously learning.
It's true. That's wonderful. But anyway, I think that is really wonderful. Thank you for sharing your story with us, and all the other stories, Paola's stories and Marina's stories. They are real. They are true stories. We did not make them up.
No.
These are real life changes, and I think when we are able to see real life changes taking place, and honesty, it's not always easy, it's not always straightforward, but it is possible, then we see the potential that we have ahead of us. There's no limits.
Yes, that's true.
Can I make a comment on what you're just saying there, Tatiana? And to me, what seems, and I think it's what's so fabulous about this time, is it's reflecting on not just ourselves, but around the world. And so we're not alone. We're not alone. And the fact that Wize Move Society has created this community is just another expression of what is actually evolving in our whole world life, our personal life. And the world is moving more towards community-based existence. I don't know what a better word is. And that we need not feel alone. We just need to reach out and know that there's going to be someone there that is probably going through the same thing. So it's not foreign to them, or they will know of somebody who that's happened to. And so that can be a sense of a foundation where I don't have to do this on my own, but I know I need to make a change. And I just love it. Keeps coming back. It's community, community, community. Very, very powerful aspect.
I think that is powerful. Thank you, Deborah. And that again is something we've seen over the weeks here. We have so many of us joining from different places, South Africa, Korea, Canada, Netherlands, UK, and we all joining this conversation, and we became quite acquainted, either more than just a community. There's a real connection in thought and ideas, and we might not always agree. That's okay. That's fine. That still makes it more interesting, makes the conversation more colorful, and that is, I think, is really, really important. And I think that we are craving that, and I know that Ingun talks usually about generation and what's the contribution of this generation. I think is reconnecting with the sense of community, because there's a group of us that being exposed to life in communities that's been disappearing over the years with urbanization, with people moving around the world, that sense of knowing your neighbors, knowing your friends, knowing people to talk to when you feel that you need to talk to someone. We don't need to do that now in the same village. We can do that online, but the spirit, the movement is the same. It's a movement that we know from different times, from pre-digital revolution.
Yeah, there's also something else to consider, is that I feel that a vision and a mission is what kind of keeps the carrot out front. And if one feels like they get a sense of what they want to do and they don't have the details yet, it's taking a step by step by step in a reinvention and trusting in that deeper sense of self that you are taken care of from a higher perspective. This is, I guess we could say this is more of a spiritual perspective, is that if we can put our desire out there and have kind of a vision and make plans and leave the plans to kind of mature and evolve in a way that has an element of curiosity and an element of this package of surprise, so that we don't have to go, I have to go this and do this and do this, and then miss special little opportunities for them to show up to give you another light on an example of maybe where you can go or how you can expand on the thing that you're doing. Life is so exciting that way, that if we leave ourselves open, then these little gifts can come in and add another level. And we might not even have known that, oh, I should even look at that. But someone has opened my eyes to another facet of where I'm going.
We
Yeah.
actually have a great example of one of the members who did this. And then we're going back to Tatiana, because I know she has more on our list. You know, one of her members who really, she was actually pushed by a friend to join. She didn't really want to join, but she was pushed by a friend to join. She really was very active in, you know, in these sessions, or still is active in the World Cafe on Friday afternoon. She mostly joins, and there's all kinds of different subjects that come on the table. And, you know, she is so amazed of what has happened to her. She's also begin 70. So she's, you know, is really trying to reinvent herself. She needs to reinvent herself, but so much has happened because she has opened up, and she was pushed, but she did it, and a lot of things happened. So that is really amazing. Yeah. Tatiana.
I think that links again with the idea that Benny said about learning, being open to learn, be open to be surprised. Because we are here exactly to be surprised at the little things that happens around us.
Yeah.
So in our journey of this year and these conversations, and I hope that if you haven't listened to our conversations, you go back and search for them and listen, because they are still there. We had other things that I thought was interesting. One is the desire to have a voice, our activism, our desire to actually stop talking about the whole aging thing and let's just do something.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think in different voices and different ways that came up in several conversations. There are things we can do, but unless we do them, nothing will be done. So this,
yes, so important. You know, it's so much research. There is so much knowledge, so many reports written about this topic. You know, it was last week someone asked me, give me the news on what is new in this about this age group. And I thought, well, you know, I can send you at least 50, 60, 70, maybe 200 reports on all kinds of research. But the thing that is missing is, yes, stand up and do something about it, because that is what we really need. And the thing about learning also, I love that part also on lifelong learning, and that mindset, that brain, that, you know, it's not just physically healthy, but our brain needs to stay healthy and needs to be challenged. And it is possible into our 90s, 100s, you know, whatever we are going to live, that keep on learning and keep that brain healthy and active so that we can really do that. And that is that was amazed me as well, you know. And then Eugene from South Africa, his session on brain health and to rewire your brain, you know, the self-coaching, very simple steps actually, but to rewire that brain, because we need to keep that brain healthy and active and to be able to be active members of society and healthy and members. Yeah.
It's true. I'm glad you brought up that conversation about the brain, because again, I think that goes hand in hand with the physical health, but our cognitive health, our mental health as well. And it's so important. And I think Eugene talked about what we could do and actually had a couple of examples of people doing it. We had Hans inventing his system of caring for your relatives. He's 84 and he's just produced this amazing system, which is, you know, I cannot wait to see go into market. But that shows that creativity, that ability to produce and add value. It's there when we keep our minds active and our minds geared towards solving problems or live with our passion, following our purpose. So that again is an illustration of that. And I'm becoming quite aware of the time. I think we can just all go picking those things. It's like getting rabbits out of the hat, because we get all these nuggets of learning that happen throughout this year. And I want to add one more that I think is very important to emphasize, because in our conversation with Mike Mansfield, we talked about finance, we talked about planning, conversations around income and money, and this is something that is such a taboo to so many of us, especially women, find difficult to talk about money and savings and finance. And unless we are open and honest, at least to ourselves, to our families, it's very difficult to plan correctly. It's the same with health. We can't hide it. We have to either face it and embrace it, or we might be surprised later on.
Absolutely.
So again, that was a very important conversation around that as well.
Very needed. Yes, absolutely. Very needed. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that is, you know, something that woke me even more up. You know, I'm already talking about these issues for many years. And there was this moment that my youngest daughter, she mentioned, you know, Mom, just don't talk about it anymore because it freaks me out. You know, I talk about it, you know, I warn my kids, you know, if we don't solve this issue about, for instance, our retirement funds, you know, that we keep on filling our retirement fund, that that they will have to deal with it, you know, and then it will not be anymore our problem, it will be their problem. And for them as well, you know, they will get older than our generation, you know, if nothing really strange happens, they will even get older than we do. So they need to save up for retirement, but they cannot save up for their own retirement if they have to, you know, correct our flaws in building those retirement funds. So there was this moment that she said, Mom, just don't talk about it because it freaks me out. And I thought, that is actually what is happening. You know, we really do have to step in, because otherwise we're really putting this problem into the hands of the next generation. And that is absolutely something we just don't want to do. So we need to stay healthy. Deborah.
It's true. Yeah. And there's something else. I'll let Deborah say. Come on, Deborah.
You gotta stay healthy. So I will give a hint, a very simple hint, is that you can just, when you're breathing, breathe with your mouth closed. And then when you go for a walk, walk with your mouth closed. And there's a whole reason behind this, so that you get better oxygenation. And we're going to be giving a workshop in January about the breath.
Mhm.
And you may want to come and experience that workshop so that you can learn more about how you can do simple things regarding the power of your breath.
Mhm.
And then we're going to do a posture series. So it's just that's going to take people through a series of keeping themselves fit
Mhm.
in very simple ways, very simple ways.
Mhm.
And the youthfulness, the vitality, the energy. Our energy, if we're going to have brain health and we're going to be doing these things, we have to have the energy to do it.
Mhm.
Getting out for a
Yes.
walk every day or doing something every day to take care of yourself. But don't forget to spend some time and just be in stillness inside.
Mhm.
Very
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very
There's
much.
so many new things that we are going to do.
Mhm.
So maybe Tatiana, is there anything you want to close off your reflection, the part of reflection? Because I do want to share, of course, so a little bit about how we are going to move forward.
I think these were my thoughts. There's so much we covered. We covered so much ground over these conversations that I invite everyone to go back and listen to them.
Listen to
Listen
them.
to them.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things to learn. So as part of our continuous learning, we go back and listen to them. And yes, and what is coming next? That's the question. That's the looking forward.
Yes, there's so much coming. And the thing is that in each conversation that we did have, that, I was also, so what is the next step on this? Do we need to take it one step further? Do we need to collaborate with these? Well, for instance, I love senior entrepreneurship, the experienced entrepreneurs, as Elizabeth Eisel talked about, with several of them, and Elizabeth included. I have meetings in the beginning of the new year to see if we can collaborate and extend also that part in our program, really use that also in our program. So yes, our Wize Move Society, it is going to expand. There is so much going on the platform, with all these members that are coming on board and getting more and more involved, because of course that takes time. People really are looking at, okay, so what is going to happen? Do I want to be part of this? Or, and then they are part of it. And do I want to get involved? And this is really something. But the program that we are offering there is also so fantastic, so that people who do need to reinvent themselves, they're going to do that in a group that is, in a similar situation, people that will uplift them, but also, to find those new friends, build new networks, because if you are reinventing yourself, you do need to build a new network. You need to have a new support system. You need your new skills. You need to upskill what you already know, but also those leadership skills. We as the older generation are so valuable, what we can bring, for instance, to organizations. It is, and I always say, they want the young ones because they're really tech savvy. And then I feel, this digital literacy, yes, is important, but it's also, in my perspective, overrated. Because if you really look at what companies are now looking for, is also people who are able to coach and to mentor, because there is a different kind of leadership. We need compassion, empathy, all these skills that also they come with age. And that are, there are so many things in that older generation that we are able to provide for these workplaces. So we are extending our program online to be able to prepare our generation to fit in those new roles, to discuss those new roles. But also, we are bringing this program at the workplace, because of course we can work with only individuals and then they are ready, but then the organization is not ready. So we also need to prepare organizations, and whether that is companies or businesses or government or healthcare, whoever, that they are aware that they need to create this work environment where this generation feels welcome, fulfilled, challenged, and happy. And that is also something we are going to work with. So that is important. We, of course, after all these conversations, have also seen that there is so much material there. But the biggest thing right now is also to create more awareness, and we need to accelerate that. We need to speed up that process. And I remember Elizabeth Eisel mentioned at one moment, if I was the CEO of a big corporate right now, I would really freak out. And that is the thing that you feel like, there is no sense of urgency in organizations, not in society, not. And we need to create that sense of urgency, that we need to really work on this. So we are bringing several great organizations together to organize a conference in April. So that is also something that we as Wize Move Society Moving to the Future will be working on, and actually have our great meeting tomorrow to expand or to brainstorm our first ideas and bring those organizations together, because we really need to work. That will be in April. So a lot going on. These live conversations, well, Tatiana, what do you think? We are going to do this in the new year as well. So we really hope that there's more and more people really present, come to the Zoom link. And I see now also there are people watching on Facebook, and that is really great. And of course you can watch later, and you can watch the recordings, and that is all. But nothing is as much fun as having Deborah here very unexpectedly, having Mabena here very unexpectedly, and that we can pull them in the conversation, because then it becomes more colorful, it becomes more inspiring. So and how this works, the more people, the more creative, the more inspiring, and also how more creative the solutions will be for all the issues that we will be facing. So really looking forward to the new year. Anything you want to add, Tatiana?
Oh, I think I will emphasize and endorse that invitation to join us on the conversations. If you are unsure about joining Wize Move Society, I would say join, gift it. It's a nice Christmas gift to give to a friend. And like us, I hope you're looking forward to next year. I'm definitely looking forward to next year. We are up to something really good. So thank you for being with us. And thank you, Deborah, for being here with us as well.
Yes,
always a joy. Always
and
a joy.
Mabena also from Botswana. So really fantastic to see all these people here. Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies. And well, have a wonderful end of the year, and we'll see you all in January. I think it's January 11th that we have our first live conversation again scheduled. So see you then.
See you then.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, Mabena. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Stop recording. Oh gosh, stop recording.